Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday, July 20th. It is like the armpit of summer here in New York. It was like 80 degrees at 8 o'clock and already so humid. I'm remembering that I didn't move back to New York for the weather, especially the summer weather. And I've got an energy update for you. This is the July 2017 energy update. And the title of this one I think is super appropriate. Squeezed, stretched, pushed, and pulled. It feels like we are just like, I don't know, rubber bands just being pulled and stretched, and then it's a tube of toothpaste being squeezed, and then we're being like sort of ripped open, and all the stuff that, you know, is ready to go and ready to release is being pulled out or pushed out. And then it's also like this pressure. It's just so much right now. It's so intense. So, you know, again, I think the important message, good morning, everybody. I think the important message is that to know that you're not alone. I've been seeing this a lot, you know, in the Soul Expansion group on Facebook, which is a secret group, private group that has sort of grown up around the Soul Expansion calls. I'm seeing a lot of people sharing experiences of being, you know, kind of in the pressure right now. And then just my, you know, my friends and colleagues are having the same experiences. I'm having, you know, a lot of my own not issues, but, you know, just contending with our stuff, right? These energies are, you know, it feels like a fine-tooth comb. You know, I was remembering this morning as I was, you know, just sort of sitting and having my coffee and trying not to sweat to death. I was remembering when I was in hair school years ago. I was in cosmetology school, and yes, I am a beauty school dropout. I never graduated beauty school, but I was in beauty school, and you know, you have the mannequin heads, which are like these heads with the hair, the human hair in them, and that's what you learn on, right? That's what you practice with. And there was one mannequin that she had like this giant rat's nest in the back of her hair. Like somehow it had gotten, like someone I think had tried to backcomb it or something, and it just got tangled and it was a mess, and then they just sort of let it go, and then over time, like it was just this giant rat ball of hair. And so I remember at one point, myself and a couple of my classmates, we decided that we wanted to, like, you know, we wanted to use this mannequin head because they were, you know, you had to buy a new one if you wanted a new one, and they were pretty expensive if you wanted a fresh one. And so we were like going through it with this fine-tooth comb, like these teeny, tiny little combs, trying to comb it out just a little bit at a time, and it took forever. And I think we ended up not just sort of saying, screw it, forget this, and we just let it go. Like we couldn't get the knot out. But I just was thinking of that this morning and how that's kind of what it feels like right now, like this teeny little fine-tooth comb just going through and scraping the most, like it is, the energy right now is so granular. It is like so micro. And that's what I want to talk about in this video as an update. You know, first of all, if you haven't read, I posted a blog post a couple of days ago, which was the 2017 energy update, and that was really sort of an update or insight for the next 6 months as we move through the end of the year, which I can't believe we're already on the back half of the year. But the title of that post, and I'll put the link in the description, is the Supercell Energy Wave. It's on my blog. It's also on my Facebook page, and that really is talking about where we are for the next 6 months. And you know, I think it's interesting because as we're progressing through this experience, and I've spoken about this before, how there used to be sort of this cycle and this pattern, and the energies would first come in through the non-physical. It would happen at the non-physical levels of self and the higher levels of cognition, and it would change, you know, it would move in energetically, and it would start to shift and stir the pot from this higher level, and then it would move into the mental plane and the emotional plane, and then finally it would really slow down and come into the physical plane, and then we have the really physical experiences of it, the sort of ascension symptoms that we like to call that. You know, and you would have whatever experience you would have physically, and then we would get a little bit of a rest period or a respite, and things would plateau, and then the cycle would start again. And even though it was oftentimes quite intense, it at least would give us some sort of context or some sort of cycle where you could begin to say, okay, yeah, I know how this works. But now it's like that linear experience has gotten less and less linear as we are moving through these higher dimensions where, you know, time is a construct of the lower frequency. Time only really exists in terms of linear time, really only exists in our experience on the Earth school, because time is an illusion. So this idea of a linear progression helps us see it from this perspective of linear growth and linear time, but really that is just an illusion. And as we move up out of this illusion of time and time continues to collapse, we are also seeing the linear experience collapse, because the truth is that it's all existing on every level simultaneously already, right? There are the things that we are moving into, the destination that we are moving towards, and I hesitate to use the idea of destination because it gives this perception that, oh, there's an ending point. So there certainly are markers on the path, but I'm using the idea of destination for the purpose of this metaphor. You know, as we're, you know, moving towards this idea of the destination or the ascension or the new earth experience, whatever it is, we're realizing that it's existed all the time. It's always been there. That higher level of frequency and awareness has always been there. It's like the atmosphere. Those higher levels of atmosphere are already there. It's just that we, through our willingness to evolve and to grow and to expand, we are now giving ourselves access to it. Just like, you know, the moon landing, right? The moon landing and those higher levels of atmosphere and outer space have always been there, right? For thousands of years, man has been staring up to the sky and pointing at the stars and the planets. It was only through our growth and expansion and the acceleration of our knowledge that we were able to finally access them. So that's kind of the metaphor that I want to give you for this journey. So right now, what I'm seeing for the next 6 months is that this idea of a linear progression is getting less and less relevant, and it's really about this giant energetic space that we are moving into and upward. It is that, you know, the never-ending upward spiral. That's really, and I talk about this all the time, that, you know, from my experience and my belief is that growth and evolution of a soul and whatever incarnation we're in to serve the growth and evolution of that soul is an upward spiral. It's a spiral ladder. So we're always moving around and sort of up and through. And so this energetic space that we're moving into, it already exists. It's just now we are able to access the levels of consciousness and awareness and information that are within it. Because our level of awareness and our understanding of what is true for us are always connected. As I reach a higher level of awareness and understanding, what I believe is true changes. So this is about really letting, so for July, so read that article because I think it really helps set the stage and give some context of where we are right now. Yes, Marie, there is no destination. I cannot say this enough. And it seems like I have to say it every single time I do a video or a post, is that we're eternal and infinite. It never ends. It never ends. So yes, you're on a leg of a journey, and there will be a point where you reach a sort of a crossroads and say, oh, okay, that chapter is complete, or that phase I'm moving out of, but it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the experience. So where we are right now for July. So read the Supercell Energy Wave article. Again, I'll put the link in the description, so that you have some context and understanding, because, you know, what I really wanted to do was also give us something for July. So I was sitting this morning and I was just asking for some insight and, you know, just sort of a sense of what we can expect for the next couple of weeks energetically. And this is really, you know, this granular, fine-tooth comb, micro level energy that is not letting us skate through with anything. It really is, you know, there's this Maria Rilke quote that I posted yesterday, which I want to find really quick for you because I think it's a beautiful quote. Let's see. So, yeah, Maria Rilke, the quote is, "I want to beg you to be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves." I think that that is a beautiful quote for where we are as we move out of July and what we call July. Because it really is just sitting with the question, sitting with the experience, allowing yourself to really begin to observe your experience through these new eyes. If you really knew, because I think that it's about learning how to rest, really connecting with that sense of how big and how powerful you really are. When you have those moments of clarity in meditation, or when you have those moments of being totally humbled just by the beauty of all that is, when you have those moments of like, you know, and I think we all have those moments where there's just that moment of like, wow, this is just an amazing experience, and look how big it is, and look how expansive it is. And that's why I think meditation and meditative practices, whether it's journaling or yoga or Tai Chi or meditation or whatever it is, you know, mindful breathing, that's what this gives us access to, is that stillness. Because that stillness is what is infinite. That stillness and that unconditional love is what is so expansive. And when we're in that moment, and sometimes that connection feels like a half of a second and then it's gone. But even in that half of a second, you feel the infinite nature of who you are. You feel the eternity. You feel how big and how massive it all is, and how you are a part of that and you are not separate from it. So the questions that we can be asking ourselves to help guide us down this path are, how would you act in the most, you know, seemingly mundane aspects of your life? Riding the train, doing the laundry, grocery shopping, cooking for the family, hanging out with your loved ones, being by yourself, whatever it is. How would you act? How would you choose? What would your life look like if you really came to your experience from that infinite, eternal, powerful, bright, brilliant place? If you intended to let your higher aspect, if you intended to let your highest expression, which is always love, if you intended to let that guide you in every moment, how would you act? What would you choose? What would you decide? What would you believe? And I'm talking about, you know, the love as in acceptance of all that is. The love as in, like, if you just really legit observed your experience, if you were just like, wow, look at how massive this is. Look how amazing and incredible. I have this body, this weird collection of, you know, muscles and tissue and bones and cells that kind of runs itself. You know, I was thinking about this morning, like, I've been asleep for 8 hours and my body was doing what it knew it needed to do to just keep the show going. And I don't have to do anything, right? That level of abundance, the abundance of life thriving through us all of the time. What if we just surrendered our belief that we can control any of it, right? Like if I just observed my life and my experience and let it move through me and come to me without trying to control it or restrict it or resist it, and just let it rise up within me? What if I surrendered my belief that I can control any of my experience, that it's really just about me being in this flow and being carried by the flow, and yeah, directing myself within the flow. Sometimes I'm steering the boat, and sometimes the boat is being steered by my higher aspect. So sometimes it's Andrew from the human perspective, and sometimes it's Andrew from the higher perspective, but it's always a version of who I really am. Because Andrew is just the experience of my soul self projecting itself and learning through the experience of Andrew. So I'm not separate from any of it. Surrender. We always talk about surrender. Surrender is just emerging with the self. Surrender is just saying, hey, I just surrender to my higher aspect because that's really who I am. Andrew is the story that I have chosen to live and learn and grow through. But Andrew is just a chapter in a book. So when I surrender to it and let myself be carried by it, seriously asking ourselves, why am I resisting my experience? And this is what this energy is drawing up for us. You know, I'm seeing this in the littlest ways, even as simple as this morning, I woke up and all of a sudden my mind went into like, okay, got to do it, fix it, take action, control, type A, get her done, you know, to-do list sort of mentality. And I love that part of who I am. That's just, you know, that's an aspect of me that's very prominent, especially in this time when I'm working on so many things and I have this momentum that's carrying me forward. So it makes sense that I would wake up and my mind automatically wants to go into fix-it mode. But really just understanding, you know, I had this moment of being given an opportunity to really sit with myself and go, wait a minute, what is that? That aspect of me that my eyes are barely open and he comes barreling down the hallway saying, Andrew, 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 this is what we got to do. Come on, come on. And he's trying to control and drive the bus from literally the second that my eyes are open. And I thought, okay, I can observe this part. I can observe this impulse and this energy, but I don't have to act from it. I can be aware that this part of me is active right now, but I don't have to let him drive the bus. So when I ask ourselves, because I think we just get so caught up in this idea of wanting to be right and wanting to be successful and wanting to be good, and I want to be healed and I want to be balanced and I want to be aligned and I want to move on and I want to da-da-da, whatever it is. You know, and I talked about this recently, you know, I think in one of my videos, pardon me because they all start to blur together, but this idea that, you know, people, when things get intense, people often come to me and they say, you know, what's the lesson? What's the meaning? What's the point of this? Why has this intense experience or uncomfortable experience come to me? And the subtext of those questions always is, what can I do to fix it or to cure it or to change it so that this uncomfortable thing will never happen again? And it's not about trying to get out of your current experience. It's not about seeing your current experience as a prison to be escaped from. Right? It's not about trying to resist what is present so that I can get comfortable again or be happy again. You are where you are right now because you chose this life and this experience, and this is where the path has currently led you. It is an opportunity. This is the truth. We all came here for an experience. As a soul who agreed to incarnate one more time as a human, you came here for an experience, period. Not a good experience, not a bad experience, not a successful experience, not a failed experience, not a happy one, not a sad one, not a comfortable one, not an uncomfortable one. It is an experience, period, and you are having that experience right now. And it is only the projection of the human belief that something is good or bad, right or wrong, happy or sad, that creates resistance from it. The projection and the belief and the value that we place on it, because here's the thing, spirit, your higher self, source, God, universe, angels, whatever you are, is we are watching our experience and going, this is the most amazing thing that I have experienced thus far because I have never known what it is like to be Andrew at this day, at this point in time, at this moment, under these conditions. I have never experienced this before. And so it is valuable and it is wonderful and I love it because it is an experience and there is value in all of it. And then it is our human projection of this is bad or this is good or I don't want this or I want more of this. So I'm either trying to push it away or I'm scrambling to, you know, hang on to it and pull more of it to me. Either way, I'm resisting. So the distortion of our experience is happening through the story that we are projecting on it. Right? And this is the analogy that I love. If we were to, if, you know, there's what, 70 people on this call right now, on this broadcast, 69, I just lost someone. So there's 70 of us on this stream right now. And if we were all 70 of us to go out and stand on the street corner and observe for 10 minutes what was happening around us, and we each wrote down a story of what was happening, and we all sat down after those 10 minutes and shared our stories, we would have 70 different versions of what had happened, and all of them would be true. And none of us would ever have really any clear idea of what had actually happened. We would only have an interpretation of it through the lens of our human perception. So it is the projection of our belief and our story that is creating, again, the primary reality is in here, internal. My truth, my connection, what I know for myself is in here. That resonance with my experience as what is right for me and what is true for me. And that creates the secondary reality, which is the external one. And the only way I can ever shift my external reality is by shifting the internal one. That's the only way it works. So when I am perceiving the story as I'm standing on the street corner with 70 other people, and I'm writing down my version of what's happening, and I'm perceiving it through the mind, I'm only taking dictation for what my perception of my experience as Andrew is. And all the rest of the people that I'm with are going to have their own story. And all of them will be right, and really none of them will be right. All of them will be true, and really none of them will be true. Because only you know what truth feels like. So you are having an experience right now. We are having an experience right now. And I get it. When things are tough and it's tight and we are being squeezed and pulled and squished and, you know, opened up and stretched and all of that, it feels like, woo, really intense. And we are in the humanness of it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I've never been one to deny the human experience. That's what we came here for, to learn and grow through the human experience. But it's about understanding that the human experience is the means for me to grow and evolve and learn through. The human experience exists because the soul chose it, not the other way around. So remembering that and living from that place of truth of, okay, this is, I came here to be Andrew, and there is value in this experience, and I can allow myself to not resist it. Yeah, it might be uncomfortable, and I might have to have it, and I'm going to give you, some practical ways to move through this. But the understanding that the experience itself is the journey. The journey is the point. The experience is the reason that you came here. So we can really allow ourselves to stop holding ourselves hostage and saying, oh, man, when I get out of this, then it'll be good. Man, I can't wait till this is over. Oh, whew, this is intense and this is deep and I really can't wait till I'm on the other side of it. Yeah, sure, of course. When you're uncomfortable, you don't want to be uncomfortable and you can't wait till you get comfortable again. But don't let that be the thing that you use to deny yourself your experience, because there is value in it right now. So the first thing that I want to share with you guys that will help move us through July and really, for the next 18 months, because I've been, mentioning this off and on, that I really feel the next 18 months are going to be massive, massive shifts and revelations and insight and information coming to the surface. Information and knowledge are not the same thing. And here's what I mean by that. Information, the mind thinks like, oh, okay, I want to know what's going on, so I'm going to read this story or this article, or I'm going to watch the news so I can get information. And the information that comes in, this may be different versions of information, right? This may be a news story, this may be a blog post, this may be mainstream news, this may be some esoteric, post on, Ascension or Starseeds or whatever. Doesn't matter what that information is. The mind thinks, okay, the more information I have, if I consume more information, when we're in that mind state, that fixed state, I talked about this, the fixed versus the flow state. When I'm in the fixed state, when I'm only seeing it through the lens of the mind, the mind says, okay, the more information I have, the more prepared I can be for this list of horrible things that I think are about to happen, right? Or when something difficult or challenging happens, I immediately want to know why, what's the answer, what's the reason, so I can fix it or cure it so that it never happens again, right? The mind is a hammer and it's always looking for a nail. Here's the thing, the mind is only ever about resistance. The mind is only ever looking how can I abstract something? How can I push something away from me? How can I separate myself from things? The mind is only about resistance. And that's not always a bad thing, because sometimes I do need to figure out, like, how do I build this thing? Okay, I go here and I cut this thing down, or I break this thing apart and I rebuild it and I make something new, because I'm separating something, right? I'm having the illusion of separating something from the field of all that is, and I'm creating something different. It's all just, it's all still the same stuff. But when you are in the fixed state, believing that the secondary reality is the real one, you are letting the mind drive the bus. And when the mind is driving the bus, it is always bracing for impact. Always. Information and knowledge are not the same thing. I can watch a story or watch the news and have all sorts of information given to me about what could potentially happen. And we see this on the news all the time. I don't watch the news, but it's on at the gym a lot. And so I will see what's happening on the news at the gym. And they will take one little 5-second clip, and they will replay it over and over and over, and they will talk for an hour and a half about this 5-second clip, trying to make up all sorts of stories and reasons about it, and trying to explain it and unbox these 5 fucking seconds. Information and knowledge are not the same thing. I can read a story or watch a story and get all sorts of information about what could potentially happen, but the truth is, it does not change what I do or do not know. I can read a story that's talking about the healthcare bill, and I can have all sorts of information, and the mind can tell me all this list of horrible things that are about to happen. But do I know that that's going to happen? No. Do I know that this healthcare bill is going to get passed? No. Do I know what the outcome of this healthcare bill is going to be? No. Do I know what's going to happen when this person does or doesn't get elected, or this thing does or does not happen? No, I don't. We do not know. Information and knowledge are not the same thing. Information comes from the secondary reality, and knowledge comes from within. When I'm talking about knowledge, I'm talking about the knowing. I am talking about being able to watch a scary news story and say, wow, that's some really scary, potentially scary information. But what do I know right now in this moment, this red hot second right here, is I know that this isn't true. Right now, this thing is not true. So it's understanding the difference between knowledge and information. And I'm not saying do or don't watch the news. That's up to you. But it's just understanding that there's a difference between the two. And when you do, and let's say you do know if something's going to happen. So then the question is, if I know how it's going to play out, number one, then what's the problem? If I know exactly what's going to happen, then what do I have to worry about? Right? Or two, if I know what's going to happen, if I know, oh God, I'm going to go see this person, I'm going to hang out with this person, and I'm going to hate it. Or, oh God, I'm going to repeat this behavior, or, repeat this pattern, and it's going to make me miserable. Then why are we doing it? And I'm not saying like, why are you doing it? Just leave. I'm saying being present within that experience and saying, what is the value? I keep showing up and having the same experience over and over. I keep seeing the same yahoos and the same cast of characters coming through my experience. So why? What is the value here? Can I just be present here? Because when something keeps recurring and repeating in our experience, it's because there's new information. We're being given an opportunity to clear another layer of distortion, to love something, to accept something, to release it. This is the other thing I want to give you. As you're seeing yourself move through these energies over the next couple of weeks and through the end of the year, you are probably most likely going to be triggered in some way, because again, this is like that fine-tooth comb going through, and the things that we perhaps weren't even aware were standing in our way, or we weren't even aware that this was a distorted belief or a distorted story, right? These are just, these are really, really micro-granular things. So when something comes up, when you're confronted with something and you get a little trigger, or you feel yourself getting really emotional, or you're going into resistance and you're trying to prevent something from happening, because, right, our triggers are our teachers, the first thing that we do is we observe. Like this morning, when my aspect of me came running down the hallway and was saying, Andrew, we have to do all this stuff. There's all this pressure. Here, let's light a fire under your butt and let's get you all anxious and worked up so that you just go crazy. So he's running down the hallway and I'm literally watching him. He's like an intern that's just all freaked out about this thing that he thinks is the most important thing. And so I just observed it. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to be just curious about this. Let me look at this aspect of me. Let me look at this experience. Let me look at this whatever through the mirror of my curiosity. Why is this here? What has this brought me? What do I feel? When I feel the message or the impulse coming to me from this energy or this belief or this pattern, what does this bring up within me? What does this activate? If I were to let this thing drive the bus and take control of my experience, really, where would I go? Energetically, what path would I move down? Would it be anxious? Would it be love? Would it be freedom? Would it be acceptance? Would it be, okay, whatever? So what has this brought me? What is this really wanting me to know? What's the message here? And it won't necessarily be a cognitive thing that you understand logically. It may be something that you just feel, right? It may just be the message of just this feeling and this sense of something. So observe it. When something is coming from the secondary reality or something is activated within you, observe it. Just observe it. Become aware of it. Become aware of yourself in relationship to it. See yourself mirrored in this and reflected, because this is coming to you for a reason, right? There's value here. Then embrace it. Embrace it. Pull it into your heart. Feel it. Feel it. Hear it, let it open up, let it show itself to you. Because again, if you are believing that you are this, if you know the questions that we asked at the beginning of this video, how would you act and how would you choose if you always came from that place of the infinite eternal self, of the divine self, of the source that you are? How would you observe this thing? What would you really think about it? What would you do? How could you love it? How can you love it? That's the question. So you observe it, and then you embrace it. You pull it into yourself. You pull it into your heart. You feel it. You hear it. You let it open up. You let it give you the message. You let it give you the feelings. And maybe that means that you cry. And maybe that means that you scream. And maybe that means that you have a moment. And maybe that means that, you know, you take 10 seconds before you respond. Or you say, I need an hour before I respond, or whatever. It goes into self-care mode. You just embrace it. Let it show you. And then once you've felt the feelings, once you've had the moment, once you've gotten, you know, and you feel like it's opened up within you. I always think of this like a flower, like when you're watching the Discovery Channel or the Nature Channel, and they always have those high-speed time-lapse photography of like flowers opening up, and then they show the flower opening up, and then it, you know, eventually the petals wilt, and then it just dies. So observe it. What opens up within you? What comes up within you? Let it open up, embrace it, feel it, and experience it, and then just let it go through its entire cycle. And let it wilt and let it return. And then release it. Lay it to rest. Let it go. Love it for what it had for you. Love it for what it brought up for you. Love it for the opportunity that it gave you to come back to that place of eternal, infinite, powerful connection. Because that's the thing that never changes. The primary reality never changes. It is constant, it is eternal, and it is infinite. And it is the thing that is within all of this. The human self, the human experience, the earth experience is wrapped around that nugget of truth and that spark of light. So the internal place, that core, that connection, that never changes. Never, 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 never. It is only ever our relationship to it and our connection to it and our willingness in any moment, or our ability in any moment to remember that and to listen to it and to connect with it consciously, because it's always there. It's just a matter of, am I conscious of it or not? Am I believing it from the secondary reality, or am I just letting go, going to that place of stillness and silence, letting the waters go calm, and finding that and letting it open up within me, and then asking the question again. How can I love this? How can I integrate this? How can I release this? What is the meaning here? What is the lesson here? What is the message? What is the value? Not is it good, is it bad? Am I right, am I wrong? Are you my, you know, am I the enemy or the, you know, the hero? Not any of that human distortion. Just really asking. Like, pull it into yourself and really love it, love it, love it, love it, love it until that resistance falls away. Because I know things are really intense right now. And I know things that really are really dense right now. And the only way to change this density and this intensity of this energy, and it's not really changing it, it's shifting your relationship to it. Shifting your understanding of what is the point and why are you here within this experience. Oh, okay. I'm just in the flow right now, and this is a really turbulent, really rocky whitewater rafting part of the flow. And yeah, there will be another part of the flow where it's chill and easy, and I'm just sort of floating down the river in an inner tube. And then there will be a waterfall, and then there will be a whirlpool, and then there will be another whitewater rapids, and then there will be another place of just chilling and kind of floating down. So release yourself from the need to always find the ease or the comfort. Just be where you are. You came here for an experience, and that is what you are having. It is only whether or not you are resisting that experience or not that creates the suffering. Difficulty and challenge are not the same thing as suffering. Right? Things can be rough, things can be tough, things can be difficult and challenging, but I don't have to suffer through it. Here comes the fire truck. So Let yourself be present in the experience because that's what you wanted. Don't disempower yourself. Don't sell yourself short. Don't go into victim mode of why me, why me, why me. And if you are in victim mode, love your victim. Love the part of you that thinks he is powerless. Love the part of you that thinks she can't make it through this. Love that part of you until it cries itself to sleep and you let it all go and then you come back to that place of truth. Just be where you are. That is the whole point. So, we so often hold ourselves hostage. Oh God, when is it going to be over? When is it going to pass? When do I get, I get it, right? There's always an eclipse or a passage or a portal or a something or an alignment or a grand cross or a trine or something in opposition of something else. I get it. It's always something, but that's the whole point. It is the eternal dance of the expansion of all that is. That's why we're here. So just let yourself go, merge with yourself, go into the surrender, because surrender is just really emerging with the self. It is trusting that I am guiding myself through this on some level. Just let yourself be. And love it, love it, love it, love it, love it as deeply as you can. And when you can't love it, love the one who can't yet love it. So that's it, my friends. I will put the links in the descriptions to all Soul Expansion July calls are still happening. So you can still sign up for the full series and get the 3 previous calls. We've got 2 calls left. The July energies are so mind-blowing. It's crazy, like the sound tones and the healing that I'm doing in these calls, it's even creating like distortion and static on the recording because the energies that are coming through are so big. I would love for you to be a part of that. Look for the link for the article, the Supercell Energy Wave for the the 2017, the next 6 months sort of energy update. I will put all the other links and quotes in there that I talked about in here so that you can have access to all that. Just be with yourself. Just love yourself. Just let yourself nurture yourself through this, right? Carry yourself through this. You are the flow. You can't not be the flow because that's what you are, right? It's like I can't not be human in this experience. I am human. And I am the divine working itself through my human experience. So I am the divine human, really. But that's it. It's hot. I'm sweaty. I need to go to the gym. If for no other reason, they have amazing air conditioning there. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in and for watching. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll see some of you on Sunday for the Soul Expansion call. And the rest of you, I'll see at another time. Mwah. Bye.